in the last 6 months, no state has experienced more significant earthquakes than Oklahoma. In fact, a 4.2 quake was felt Monday morning in Tulsa. Now, this is not an area we think of earthquakes in.
Absolutely not. In fact, all of that shaking is raising fear among some Oklahomans, prompting warnings from scientists that a major earthquake could be imminent. Now, new scientific evidence is suggesting that this seismic activity is not necessarily a natural occurrence.
In a state where people are used to watching the skies for danger. Oh, God. Residents in Oklahoma are starting to wonder what's happening underground.
Another big earthquake, at least by our standards.
In the past few months, earthquakes have become an almost daily occurrence. Vance Gregory owns a wine shop in Edmond, Oklahoma, and despite living through tornadoes, floods, and wildfires, the Oklahoma native admits to being a little rattled by earthquakes.
There's no way to predict when one's going to occur, and I think that's what's so alarming about them for most people.
From 1975 to 2009, Oklahoma averaged one earthquake with a magnitude of 3.0 or greater per year. From 2010 to 2013, that annual average jumped to 40. This year, already 200 earthquakes in the first 5.5 months alone.
The big question is why. Some recent studies are pointing the finger of blame at the engine that drives Oklahoma's state economy, the oil and gas industry.
Oil companies have been drilling in Oklahoma for more than a century, but some scientists believe recent changes in how that drilling is done could explain what's behind this seismic shift. For the past century, oil and natural gas were extracted by drilling vertically into easy-to-reach reservoirs. But in the last 15 years, those reservoirs have dried up. So energy companies have turned to fracking, drilling horizontally and using water to fracture the rock in order to extract the oil and natural gas. All those millions of gallons of wastewater are then injected back underground.
Besides injection wells causing it, what would be another reason for the increase?
Well, so that's a really good question, and the increase is just incredibly dramatic. So there have to be some of these cases that are likely caused by fluid injection. It's just common sense.
In a recent study, geologists traced the largest earthquake in Oklahoma history back to an injection well, where they believe the underground pressure created a foreshock, which then triggered the earthquake. Independent oil producers are working with Oklahoma state regulators to provide more data, but the companies want more scientific proof before they make any drastic and costly changes to their business model.
It sounds like you're not closed off to the possibility that wastewater injection sites could cause an earthquake.
No one has said definitely that this is the cause, and we just think it's unfair to point it at this and say this has to be the reason when it doesn't make sense. And there's still a lot to be learned.
Some states are already taking steps. In Ohio, stricter guidelines on wastewater injections. In Arkansas, a permanent moratorium on new injection wells near any major fault lines. And in California, lawmakers are considering a bill to halt all new wells until more studies can be done. But back in a state like Oklahoma, where 1 in every 6 people is employed by the oil and gas industry, and fracking is sometimes as close as your backyard, the subject of what, if any, connection it might have to the dramatic increase in earthquakes is still very much open to debate.
I'm still not buying that it's completely because of the fracking.
So nobody seems to be debating the idea that wastewater injection wells can cause an earthquake. What's harder to prove is that a specific injection well is somehow tied to a specific earthquake. So lawmakers and regulators are asking for more science to make that link before they place any severe restrictions on the oil and gas industry in Oklahoma.
It's fascinating, though. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Al.
Thanks.
Coming up.